So I see setbacks sometimes as it's a perfect platform for you to actually adapt, but also to learn from, and then to become the better person. It's quite an interesting journey. I was born in South Africa and I grew up there, and I always had this desire of doing something different and just going out in the big wide world. I learned that because South Africa is part of the Commonwealth, that enables us to be part of the British Army, and we can sign up. And I've always had a love growing up on the farm, my grandparents' farm. I learned to shoot and fieldcraft and all that kind of stuff. So it was a big interest for me. And I just decided to take the kind of leap of faith and kind of sold everything I had in South Africa, bought a ticket with that money, came over, and I landed on a Monday morning in a beautiful kind of summer's July in 2007. And the Monday morning I was in the careers office starting the first paperwork. And fast forward from that, I joined the British military, the Parachute Regiment in specific. Going through my training, I passed out, receiving my Maroon Beret, and then going on to my jumps course. And then I went and represented the Parachute Regiment, but we've got 3 regiments, 1 para, 2 para, 3 para, and I was part of 1 para, which is an organization also part of a special forces support group. And in 2008, I saw my first tour to Afghanistan, learned a great deal about what we do out there and about myself and the unit in itself. And a mere 6 months later, returning from the 2008 tour, I had my second opportunity in 2009, going out there again, playing a much more of a different role, a lot more of an active role as well. And within 5.5 months out there, a mere 2 weeks left before returning to the UK, we deployed on what was most likely one of our final operations. It was a very successful mission, and heading back into the desert where the helicopters were going to pick us up, we came across a Taliban stronghold, which was, there unbeknown to us. A huge firefight broke out, and during that firefight, I was hit by an RPG, a rocket propelled grenade, and it changed my life forever in an instant, really. That night, the rocket hit me from my left side. I've lost my left arm just above the elbow, collapsed left lung, multiple wounds down my left side, lost about a third of muscle and tissue to my left upper thigh, a range of injuries. And when I woke up in Selleog Hospital 6 days later, out of an induced coma, I looked down on myself, realizing that, wow, this is life-changing injuries. But in my case, this was career-ending injuries. So that was really significant for me. And then I started to wonder and ponder about what is life going to be like? If I can't be in the military that I love so much, who's going to employ someone like me? What am I going to do? And I actually suffered a little, quite a bit of mental health, like just the unknown, wondering whether I was a bad soldier. Why did this happen to me? And even to a place, like I say, I actually had quite a bit of depression, into a place where I even thought, why did I survive? But I had a lot of support systems around me, and I just knew that I had to pick myself up. And there's a quote that I came across, and it said that life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond to it. And I just thought that was so powerful that I applied that to my life ever since. And that just led me to all kinds of stuff, from learning to walk again, run again, doing marathons. I had a wonderful opportunity to be part of a team to walk unsupported to the geographical North Pole. I went off to do a number of other mountains. I attempted Everest, also with Walking with the Wounded, a charity organization. I learned to ski. And goodness me, it was just like, life was just like this big kind of challenge of what can I do, what I can't do. And it's actually coming back from the Everest expedition back in of 2012 that we flew back, and it was time for the Olympic and Paralympic Games in London. And I was very fortunate. I lived in London at the time. So I was in and around the buzz, actually just opposite my flat that I shared with another wounded soldier. We had one of the arenas built. The shooting arena was literally just within our area. So I went to that games as a spectator, and I sat there and I was so amazed by it, by the standard of the athletes, the impact that they had on the crowds, and even just me as well. And I was also found myself at that stage in my life where I was leaving the military. I was getting medical discharged. So for me, again, there was a sense of uncertainty. But then coming away from London, I was like, wow, it would be amazing to become a Paralympian. And that was my new dream, my new goal. And I kind of worked towards that with the aim to go to the next games in Rio in 2016. Sadly, I didn't make the final cut. Gosh, it was such a big disappointment for me and such a setback. But I did reflect back on what happened to me, and you know, the journey towards Rio was immense. And I've made a lot of, I really grew as a person during that time as well. I made a very difficult decision to remove myself from the Paralympic team and to become an independent rider, because I didn't have balance. I needed to find balance in my life. Everything was so cycling focused and orientated that the rest of my life kind of fell away and kind of suffered from that. So I recognized that, and that balance is important. And during my time almost building up towards 2020 as an independent rider, I just fell in love with cycling again, and I kind of enjoyed it. But I did really well as well. I raced domestically, and I was invited to partake in a World Championships representing Great Britain. And I came away from that World Championships as a 3-time world champion, which was incredible. And then with that, I was invited back onto the team with Paris Cycling with the aims to then go to Tokyo. And we went to Tokyo, and it was amazing. And I came away with 2 golds, 1 bronze medal, and 3 world records, which was just incredible. It was insane. Just my aim was always to become a Paralympian. And obviously with the British cycling team, the way you get selected was they recognize and believe that you will at least win a medal. So for me, I was like, okay, if I win any form of medal, I'll be the happiest guy in the world. So yet alone coming away with 2 golds and a bronze, and 3 world records. So it was incredible. But even standing on top of that podium, there was a little bit of an empty space in my heart, because as I was looking up and receiving my medal, due to COVID, we had the delay of the games, but there was no friends and no family can travel. So, so many people make so many of sacrifices similar to mine. And, I can't go on a vacation without a bike. And, it's just the ups and the downs that your family members share with you, and they're always there and they go through all of it. And then to eventually reach that goal and achieve something so amazing and to not share them with you, it just didn't feel right. So I knew in my heart that I would then have to commit to the next games, which was in Paris, with the aim and the hope, all fingers crossed, the world will get over COVID and the whole situation, people can travel again. And that's exactly what happened. And we pushed towards Paris, and again, a very successful games. Again, that 3-year period had its ups and its downs and setbacks, but we got to Paris in very good form. And literally, I was feeling so confident in my ability, but not just my ability, but also just my preparation. I really felt truly prepared for this. And I think in my heart, whether I win or whether I got beaten, it didn't matter. I just knew in my heart that I really gave everything towards this build up towards this campaign. But the universe, or call it whatever you want out there, wasn't quite done with me. It really wanted to test me, because I felt like I just had 10 months of this consistency, which was just amazing, in every aspect of my life, from my fitness to my rehab to everything else. And 7 days before my first race, I got hit by a car. We did a recce of the time trial course, And yeah, this car just came out of nowhere and drove straight into me, and I found myself on the tarmac. And yeah, unbeknown to any injuries at that stage, I was like, this cannot be happening. It was just like, I'm 7 days away from the biggest race, and you just drove into me. But I managed to deal with that, because again, I feel as well that with all the other setbacks and difficulties and stepping stones I had previously leading up to that moment, there was also an element of calmness that came through me. That also knowing that there's nothing I can do with the situation that I found myself in now. So staying calm is probably the best thing, because being angry and wasting energy wasn't going to help. But I'm lucky to report that 7 days later, we did get back on our bike. And I broke 2 of my own world records and won 2 gold medals in Paris. And this time it was what they call that fairy tale ending, sitting in the crowds in London. What inspired me was finally there. I won 2 gold medals, 2 world records, and I had my wife with me, I had my family with me, and I had many friends from all over the world flown in. So absolutely fairy tale ending to what, nearly 12 years of a dream that I just never gave up on. The military is amazing, because it truly breaks you down as a civilian, and it rebuilds you up as a soldier. And that's very necessary to do that, because what's required from you as a soldier, you can't really do as a civilian. But also this mindset and this rebuild of a soldier is also very good in a steadfast manner into civilian life, and in anything you go on to do. In my case, it really helped me as a sports person or individual, because I could really reflect on everything that I have done in the military is very similar to that I required in a sporting career. Facing setbacks, facing challenging times, being able to adapt, looking back on when stuff doesn't go right, and why it didn't go right, and how do we, being able to adapt very quickly to circumstances that's kind of almost out of your control. So I really utilize this in my sporting career as well, to kind of, like I say, to actually have a little bit of an edge on top of some of my competitors. Well, setbacks I see sometimes actually, it's inevitable. We're always going to face setbacks. We're going to face some tough times, but we can always see this as stepping stones for building character, but also to learn from. And that's what I've learned over the years as well. You shouldn't really be afraid to also utilize that moment to actually reflect on how far you have come. Yes, it's a setback now, but also look at where where have you been 2 weeks ago? Where have you been a month ago? Where have you been a year ago? And you'll see a great element of progression up to that point. But setbacks, like I say, it's also a stepping stone for growth that I really feel, because why have I, what have I done wrong? Why have I failed in whatever I've done? How can I get better? For a race, if I have a game plan for myself in a race of what I want to do, and it doesn't go to plan, and I do really badly, I can reflect back and go, okay, well, I lacked maybe some element of skill, or maybe some, endurance. So, okay, so next time I need to work on my endurance elements, and I need to, maybe I need to enter a different form of a race to actually up my skill level, to then come back and perform at this race and hopefully get the result that I require. And that will enable me to move forward much quicker, much better, and to perform at a higher level. So I see setbacks sometimes as it's a perfect platform for you to actually adapt, but also to learn from, and then to become the better person. whole Rio 2016 thing stands out to me, because when you're so focused on one thing, when I had this very clear goal, this very clear outset of what I wanted to do and what I wanted to achieve, and I left no stone unturned. I left my life by one question, and it was, what's going to make me fast on a bike? So, and you apply it literally to everything in your life. Do I drink a beer or do I drink a water? What's going to make me fast on a bike? So the beer, well, obviously the alcohol will have a negative effect, and you might have, I like one beer, I might have another. Or do I drink a glass of water or electrolyte, and that will cleanse you, hydrate. What's going to make me fast on a bike? Option B. And you do it with food. You go, do I go to a party, and will I be tired and obviously again not be able to regulate what I eat and what I drink? Or do I stay at home, recover, and I can have, you can have control of what you do? You go for option B, because that's going to make you fast on a bike. And you live your life by this one question, and you can see it becomes very boring very quickly. But I was willing to do that for the cause of becoming a Paralympian and going to the next Paralympic Games and representing Great Britain and come away with a medal. And then suddenly, when you don't get on a plane and you're not selected, it's absolute heartbreak. And you do feel like, I genuinely felt like I've done all of this for nothing. But again, it's a great moment of reflection of actually, you know what, I have learned a lot about myself. I have grown as an athlete as well. But because I reflect and because I look back on what I've done well and what I haven't done well, I haven't really enjoyed the last 6 months of that build up towards Rio. And also that was very prominent to me, that balance was out. There was no balance. There was no life cycle training balance. Everything was towards cycling. And during this time, I really saw a great deal of personal growth when I made that very difficult decision to step back and to remove myself from the team. I took a lot more onus on myself as well of, well, how am I going to get to my goal and how am I going to get to my dream? I then started building a team around me that had the same kind of vision of what I wanted to do and what I wanted to achieve. And they all bought in 100%. And I think that was probably where I've really grown and learned a lot more about myself during that time period than ever before. So if it wasn't for the fact that I didn't get selected to go to Rio, I don't think I will be the athlete and would have achieved and accomplished what I have done, that I've done today.